I'd like to kind of bring us home with a question that looks to the future. If you look at the tool set that you yourself spend the most time dealing with, where are we going, say 1 to 3, 5 years ahead? Not that anyone thinks 5 years ahead in cloud computing, I don't think, but where are we going in the future for your particular tool? Sharon, what's your take on that?
Probably autopilot for your cloud.
I would autopilot for your cloud.
Yeah, why not? I would envision a scenario when, let's say, a clicker customer will be able to launch his deployment, put a set of criteria, thresholds, and let the application maintain itself, scale in and scale up automatically based on, for instance, business growth. So envision a scenario when your monitoring solutions are well connected with your Google Analytics and your revenue management software that may predict growth in terms of user hits into your website, that will know how to upscale it automatically before it actually happens. I don't think we are far away from it. There is a lot of work needs to be done in order to make it happen, specifically maturity of clients, but it could happen, definitely.
Well, you're basically talking about automated application management, right?
I would say automated infrastructure management. Not quite sure that on the application level yet, but specifically for infrastructure, yes.
Yeah, I could see that one coming, certainly. Greg, your take on where we're going with tools, say 1 to 3, even 5 years out?
So I totally agree with what Sharon said, and just to kind of add another unique view on that, I think this concept of federation becoming more of a reality, and so there being more interoperability between different cloud providers' platforms is something that customers are asking for. This isn't necessarily something that cloud providers themselves are wanting to do, because clearly there's an incentive to try to keep customers within their confines of their environment, but customers want that interoperability. So thinking about industry standards or tools that sit on top of and are interoperable across multiple cloud platforms, and then allow for interoperability and more ease of migration of workloads and applications across various cloud providers, that's certainly something that customers are asking for, and I think will drive a lot more adoption, because there is a bit of a concern that customers have around what happens if the provider or the partner that I work with is no longer around in a few years, or business dynamics change and I want to move, but I've made so much investment in architecting my application in a certain way that it's not really pragmatic for me to move it. And so thinking about tools that make it easier for organizations to have that flexibility to move and leverage resources from different cloud providers will hopefully be something we'll see play out in the years to come.
The magic word is platform agnostic. I think I hear a lot about that one, definitely.
Yep.
Pete, the future of tools as you see it, where are we going?
Sure, I agree with the interoperability that Greg was just talking about. I disagree with how that's going to happen. I think, having worked for 2 infrastructure as a service companies, I can tell you that there's pretty big pressure to differentiate those platforms. And while as someone whose engineering team at Clicker spends a lot of time dealing with different cloud APIs, there's nothing my CTO would love more than for everybody to adopt the OpenStack API. But Google's never going to do that, and Amazon's never going to do that, and our friends at Microsoft are never going to do that as well. So there's going to be a limit to the kind of interoperability that the vendors themselves offer. But this is where the cloud management platforms, like what we do at Clicker, can insulate that from the majority of the world. So we'll deal with interactivity by allowing you to, in our case, describe your infrastructure needs using this application profile concept that we have, and we'll interpret that for you, and we'll provide that interoperability for you. And where that's going to take us, I think, longer term, I think to Sharon's point, is some automation. So and I'll go there with the applications. I'll say, I see in 3 to 5 years you can use a tool like what we do to, here's my application and here's some parameters that I want you to consider, and you just move it for me. Run the benchmark. Run the benchmark every month for me, and when the benchmark hits certain certain criteria, yeah, I've already written the migration scripts. Just go do it for me. And it could be that a line of business owner doesn't know where his blog's running and doesn't care because the underlying management platform is just taking care of that for him or her and moving that around based on criteria that they've defined. And it might not even be criteria that you're measuring. I think where like the next set of this might go is it's not even criteria you're measuring on your systems themselves, but social media has enough data out there to mine that based on what you're seeing and out in social media and what your application does and what your application's audience is, I think we're going to see a point where we're going to be able to have an application predict when load will come to it based on what it sees out in the global social media space. I mean, you can think about, there's things that are predictable, like I'm a big National Football League fan, and the NFL draft is Thursday. So if you're somebody who's running a website or a blog or something that is related to the NFL draft, that's predictable. You know when that's going to happen. Well, you don't know when a high-profile player will get busted on a DUI, but right. if you have I think we're going to see in the next 5 years the ability to get that predictability out there by monitoring social media, and then if that has an impact on my site in this NFL example, I know if a player gets busted for something or something out of band that's not predictable happens, that the likelihood I'm going to have an increase in traffic might go up based on what my topics are, and therefore horizontally auto-scale on my cloud of choice based on the prediction of what's happening out in the real world.
Paul, your take, the future of the cloud. I know all the research firms say the spending is going to go up. The last figure I think I heard is 23% a year, but through like 2020. But what about the technology itself? Where are we headed in terms of the tool set?
Okay, well, there's a few things I think, and Greg and Pete both illustrated the importance of, well, the fact that people are using multiple clouds and they want some type of interoperability. What that means maybe depends on your scenario. Some people want to be able to move applications from one cloud to another. Some people want to be able to write a brand new application that runs on one cloud or another. So there's a whole theme there that I think is really important, and it's kind of the continued evolution of management tools to support multiple cloud environments. So that'd be number one for me. And I've got two more. The second one would be to also extend tools so that they support not only the multiple public clouds, but also to support on-premises IT environments, whether they're private clouds or whatever. And I say that because the majority of IT is still in-house now. Even though it is massive growth, we're going to continue to see a lot of movement to the public cloud. But I think that's the second factor these tools need to consider, is that they need to consider on-premises support as well as public cloud. And then I think the third one that comes to mind is there's going to be kind of this growing battle where you've got some large infrastructure as a service providers like the Amazons that are investing a lot in their own tools, and they're trying to bring some of these tools on board and have them just part of their offering. Or maybe they're charging for that additional management capability as a service, but I think that's something to watch. Other cloud providers are going to look to vendors and go pick best-of-breed management tools and integrate with those. So those are the three that I see.
In other words, the tool providers will get sucked into the large monolithic cloud providers.
I think in various forms. I think some of the large monolithic ones will build their own tools to compete, and many of the others will align themselves with best-of-breed solutions, the likes of Cloudin and Clicker, and work closely with them to make sure that they're giving their customers everything they need and competing against the big boys.
Excellent. I thank the four of you for your expertise. I'll keep you posted. I'll send you a link. And we can all happily tweet it. Thanks a lot for talking with us today.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.